Stephen Carroll. Hello.
Hello, Jade.
You've been looking into this minimum wage announcement from Barack Obama. Who does it affect?
Well, it's quite a specific announcement that Barack Obama has made. The increase to an hourly rate of $10.10 per hour will apply only to federal contract workers. Now, that's about 2 million people in total, but only a small minority of those would be paid the minimum wage. So it's only quite a small number of people that'll be affected. For example, janitorial staff working at military bases and things like that. Now, the statutory minimum rate in the United States across the whole of the country is $7.25 an hour. That's remained the same since 2007. And this announcement by the US president is the start of a longer campaign to try to get Congress to agree to raise that federal minimum wage to $10.10 an hour. Now, the difficulty with this is that many businesses and also many people in the Houses of Congress are also going to be worried about what the cost that might be to businesses. If they increase wages, how are they going to manage to pay these workers? Even if he does manage to increase the rate to $10.10, it'll still be less than the equivalent minimum wage in the United Kingdom and in France. This is, though, a good time to try this sort of effort. If you look at the figures of people out of work, the unemployment rate has been falling in recent months, down to 6.7% recently, so it's not a bad time for Barack Obama to consider undertaking these reforms.
All right, and let's stay in the US. And a story now that authorities in New York have been talking about how they might regulate the digital currency Bitcoin.
Yeah, this after Charlie Shrem was charged with conspiracy to launder money. He runs a Bitcoin exchange in New York, and it was to do with that business that he was held by authorities. Now, the New York Department of Financial Services held a hearing yesterday to discuss how they might regulate Bitcoin, this digital currency that's taken on such huge value in the past year. They're considering issuing licenses for those companies that trade using Bitcoin in an effort to control the currency. Bitcoin's value has exploded in the last year. $1 is worth around, one Bitcoin is worth under around $825 at the moment. And that price volatility is just one of the reasons why authorities want to control it.
Not currently a robust regulatory regime to help spot red flags and root out illegal activity. Right now, the regulation of virtual currency industry is still akin to a virtual Wild West. That lack of regulation, however, is simply not tenable for the long term, and I think it's already starting to change.
Now, after the battering that emerging market currencies have seen in recent days, Turkey's central bank has become the latest to raise its interest rates overnight. At an emergency meeting, the Turkish central bank raised all of its main interest rates by significant amounts in an effort to combat the plunging value of the lira. Overnight lending rates went up from 7.5% to 12%, while overnight borrowing rates rose from 3.5% to 8%. Now, the lira rose against the dollar after these steps taken by the Turkish central bank after hitting record lows on Monday.
Of course, that issue has been affecting the markets over the past week as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a concern across all of the markets around the world. In fact, in Asia today, things are slightly more optimistic after that action from the Turkish central bank and that from the Indian central bank, a similar move taken by them. Yesterday, you can see the Nikkei in Tokyo up hugely, 2.4% after those recent falls. Generally quite a positive picture across the Asian markets. Investors will be watching the Federal Reserve closely later as well. We'll find out this Wednesday whether or not they'll reduce further their stimulus programme. It's at $75 billion a month of bond purchase at the moment. It may come down further.
All right, there were some big company results out of the US last night too.
Yeah, chief among them, Yahoo, the internet giant, reporting its results for the 3 months to the end of 2013. Revenues fell 6% over that period as prices for online ads fell. Earnings were hit by slowing growth of the Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba, which Yahoo owns almost a quarter of. Profits at Alibaba rose an impressive 58% over the period, but that was less than in previous months. That hit Yahoo's shares in after-hours trading down around 3%. The car maker Ford reported higher than expected profits for the last 3 months of 2013, but it's warned that it's facing increased price competition for the coming months, particularly from Japanese manufacturers who are benefiting from a cheaper yen. It's also forecasting losses in South America, partly due to price controls in Venezuela placed on the motor industry. And the video games maker EA says the arrival of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One have hurt demand for older consoles more than had been expected. The company's reduced its sales forecast for next year as a result from $4 billion to $3.9 billion. But Electronic Arts reported better than expected profits of almost $400 million for the last 3 months of 2013.
Right, finally, to some news that might not have many here in France very happy. The Chinese have stolen an important title from them, haven't they?
Yeah, I would say a psychologically important title for the French. According to a survey from the Wine and Spirits Association, Vinexpo, Chinese consumers now drink more red wine per year than the French. Now, Chinese, according to this survey, drank almost 1.9 billion bottles in 2013, up 130% over the last 5 years. That puts France in second place and Italy in third. Traditionally, of course, very large markets for red wine. Now, Vinexpo says that this is down partially due to increased wealth in China, but also because the colour red in Chinese culture is a positive symbol. It's seen as the colour of luck and good fortune, and that's what's driving red wine sales over white wine.
Oh, there you go. I'm not sure that the French are being drunk under the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Could be some change there.
All right, thanks very much for that, Stephen Carroll, for a wrap-up of today's business news. It's time now to take a look at what's grabbing headlines here